Senator, thanks for being with me. So there's a lot of the celebratory tone, as we've been characterizing it now. Some of the progressives now backing, in theory, in principle, the framework. But is the celebration premature? We've not heard from Senator Manchin that he backs it or that Senator Sinema backs it either.
Well, I'm optimistic that we're going to see real progress now that we've got a framework that has the support of the Democratic caucus. This is a framework that will make a generational investment in providing support for things like affordable, high-quality daycare, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds for millions of Americans, a broader and better access to quality health care that'll help with home health care for seniors and for Americans with disabilities. I've been serving here in the Senate for just over a decade. I've never seen a moment as encouraging as this when we are on the very verge of delivering significant expansions in support for the things that keep families up at night, for the things that, if we get this done, will improve in the health and the education and the quality of our families. This
Senator,
also
you've
is an
been on the
important
verge
investment in
now.
combating climate change. I'll
You've
remind
been on
you,
the verge for weeks now, Senator.
$555 billion of this package is to combat climate change. And as our president goes to COP26, that's a critical investment to make.
But, Senator, you've been on the verge for weeks. Please explain to me, or explain to the viewers, how today is dramatically different than yesterday. You've still got the same non-committal holdouts in Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema. Yes, you do now have progressives who are on board, but you don't have the votes that you need. So was the risk this morning for the president to come up to the Hill to make the case? Did it pay off? And how is today dramatically different?
Today's different because I've heard from both Senators Manchin and Sinema that they believe this is a framework they can work with, that this is a basis for us moving forward. And obviously, Speaker Pelosi and the president decided that they are in a position to go to the House caucus and say, pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. I'll remind you, that bill will put $1.2 trillion into every state in the country, create 650,000 high-skilled, high-wage jobs, and do some of the critical work in climate resiliency that we need done. Yes, it's been weeks and weeks of our trying to work through the minutia, the details of the Build Back Better agenda. But President Biden in recent days has been intimately, personally engaged in negotiating with Senator Sanders and Sinema and Manchin at his home in Delaware, in the White House. And I believe we've got a package that can succeed now. And I frankly think it's going to give wind beneath the wings of our president as he goes to Europe to the G20. And it's frankly going to give us a lift in the upcoming Virginia governor's race. I
hear you there, Senator, but you say that you believe that Senator Manchin, this is a framework that he can get behind. Senator Manchin won't address specifically if he backs it. He's got to read it. He also was not part of the caucus call on the framework. So I wonder where that confidence comes from. But I want to move on to something the president said, where he said that it's not hyperbole to say that the Democratic majorities in Congress and his presidency are on the line over what happens over the next week. Do you believe that's true, as still there are holdouts on both sides?
We need to make progress. Politics is the art of the possible, not the art of the perfect. And we need to show the American people that the decision a majority of Americans made to elect Joe Biden and to elect Democratic majorities in the House and Senate, although a razor-thin majority here in the Senate, were good choices. So we need to move forward on delivering on bills that will invest in dealing with the things that working families worry about, from pre-K to health care costs to child care to housing, and delivering on the high-quality jobs that the infrastructure bill will make possible, and showing that the bipartisan effort that produced this infrastructure bill was an effort worth undertaking. President Biden is asking us to help support him, and I'm confident that our caucus will deliver that help.
So I'm still wondering, is there a vote? Are you informed? Have you learned that there's going to be a vote on the infrastructure bill tonight? I've got no commitment or heard from the speaker in her news conference that it's going to happen.
My understanding, I'm in the Senate, my understanding is that the House Rules Committee is beginning momentarily, and I've heard from a number of House colleagues that they expect there to be a vote on the infrastructure bill tonight. My comment earlier that Senator Manchin has said this is a framework I can work with is based on a direct conversation with him. I understand that this has been a long and a difficult negotiating process, but he's negotiated in good faith with our president, and I think we've got a framework with which we can and should move forward.
So can you tell us more about this conversation with Senator Manchin, that this is something he can work with? Are there still sticking points that would be problems for some of the progressives? How does that move forward?
Look, I still haven't seen final text of what exactly are the decisions that have been made, which tax provisions are in or out, which climate and which spending provisions in detail are in or out. This comes in at $1.95 trillion. That's an enormous amount of money. There's several hundred billion in here that is notionally dedicated, for example, to reducing the deficit and the debt, something that Senator Manchin has said is a priority to him. Any senator could say to you, should say to you, I haven't seen the final bill text yet, so I'm not committing to a vote until I see it, but this is a framework I can work with. That's a very encouraging thing to hear from my colleagues, both from Senator Sanders and from Senators Manchin and Sinema and many others. Lots of us have issues that we are urgently pushing to make sure is in the final bill. But a bill this large comes through once in a generation. And one of the things I hope your viewers will take from my comments is the optimism I have that this is making the kinds of investments that Democrats are committed to fighting for. I'll remind you, part of why we're watching so closely exactly what is said by a handful of senators is that not one Republican is stepping forward to help us with pre-K, with paid family leave, with child care, with housing, with seniors, with home health care. Democrats are doing this package on our own, and that's going to end up being the defining issue in the elections next year.
All right, Senator Chris Coons, it may be the defining issue in the election in Virginia in a couple of days. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.